Hello, and welcome to The Bridge with LaTasha. I'm so glad that you're here today. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. Either way, I appreciate your presence here, and I'm so glad to share my stories and my wisdom with you. So, today is Wisdom Wednesday, and what I do on Wisdom Wednesday is I talk about the lessons that I learned from the story that I shared on Sunday. This past Sunday's story was about how I learned to hide my light, how I had these situations that happened in my life, even physical violence that kind of step by step had me shrinking myself, hiding myself, and kind of going into a little bit of a hermit mode. I learned how to hide all of these parts of myself, ultimately to feel safe. But then I looked up one day and looked in the mirror, and I realized that I really didn't even know who I was anymore. And I don't know that in my adult life, if anyone had actually really been invited in to see the fullness of my light, because I know that I wasn't walking in it. And that was when I was like, girl, what is going on? Like, who are you? Why are you shrinking yourself? How are you in these situations? No, don't get me wrong. My life is very blessed, and I'm so glad that I'm protected. And my shrinking of myself, I learned in therapy, because I am a therapy girly, which is one of the reasons on this channel, when I offer you my wisdom and kind of philosophical insights and mystic musings, they are just that. I am not a mental health professional, but I do really believe in mental health professionals because they have helped me in my journey. I also believe in spiritual diviners and leaders, and they have helped me in my journey. But all of that to say that I learned through my journey spiritually as well as with therapy that my systematically learned to shrink and hide to feel safe, because I literally had experienced these acts of violence before, being my full self and being honest and showing up as myself. So systematically, over time, I just subconsciously started feeling that it was safer to not show up as myself. And unfortunately, that put me in a place where, again, I don't even know, I didn't know who I was at one point. It put me in situations where I was allowing people in my life, these lessons kept kind of coming around to me in very challenging and different ways. And the biggest piece of wisdom that I think I want to highlight that I learned from everything that I shared with you on Sunday is that I was never too much. I was never too much. I was never too happy. I was never too over the top. I never talked too much. All of these things that I was made to feel like I was too much about were just things that are who I am. But unfortunately, I was bringing them to the wrong environment, to the wrong people, to the wrong scenarios. And of course, when this happened for the first time, when I was under 10 years old, I did not have the wisdom or the mental to say, oh, well, you know what? She's just not my person. So I began to be like, oh, what do I have to do to make myself work with this person? And then I began to start kind of having all of my relationships that way. All of the relationships that I entered into, I was very hypersensitive to what was going on with people to make sure that I kept the peace, that I kept things agreeable, that I was the friend that didn't cause confusion, that I was the daughter that didn't cause confusion, that I am always the person who keeps the peace. Now, I'll say that I am a peacekeeper. I'm just naturally that person. I am also a person who pretty much always sees the gift of life in everything, even in challenging times. I literally had to work to be able to get to the place where I could sit in the discomfort of anger and ugliness and all of these things, because I just have never, it's not my natural nature, Pisces, to want to sit in that, because I do most times have a higher understanding of a lot of the underworkings, inner workings of humanity. And I empathize with people's reasonings that they do things. Even the young lady who jumped me, I have accepted her apology when I was, older in life, and we've had the conversation. And I understand at the time that was a horrible thing. But now I have gotten to the age and stage where I have forgiven her. She asked to be a part of my life and said that that was a horrible thing that she did to me. But she's not someone that I want in my life. So I have forgiven. We were children. However, that situation changed who I was. It impacted who I am today, and it impacted it very heavily. So much so that, especially in my 20s, I had a really hard time trusting women, because this person had been my best friend. So to have your best friend physically attack you violently, it makes you leery of who you trust from that point on. So I was very leery of women. I was very leery of friendships. I was very leery of all of these things, even though I was still hiding parts of myself or watering parts of myself down when I was dealing with people. I finally came to the place of I am who I am, and the people who love me will love me. And I also, kind of tying back into week one's lesson of trusting myself and trusting my intuition, I also learned that in that situation, when I feel like something ain't right, something ain't right. When I feel like, a person's motives are not on par with honorability, I know what I'm talking about. Even if I don't have proof, I now trust those nudges. When I feel if my full body is not safe, I'm not safe. And I trust that now. And I walk in that. And so the biggest gift that when I look back over my life and I look back to my first friendships and my first best friend who betrayed me in that way, and now where I am, and I have beautiful women in my life, beautiful supportive women, spiritually, professionally, and just friendship wise, I have the greatest and most beautiful women who are reflections of love and confidence and all of these things that in prior relationships, I was told, oh, you think too much of yourself. Oh, you're too much. You want too much. You think this, you think. I don't have those things anymore. I realize that going where I am celebrated and not where I'm trying to contort myself to fit in was the key. And I had been contorting myself for so long that I actually really didn't consciously recognize that I was contorting myself until I started kind of taking stock of the people that were around me and the situations and the things that were happening, especially after my sister passed away. Because when my sister was living, it was not a priority for me because, as I said before, I had my people in my sister. My siblings were my people. And I didn't need outside people. But once my sister was gone, I realized, like, okay, I'm kind of this island, and there are really good people in the world. Why am I not coming across these people? So it was really kind of a reckoning moment. And I'll be honest, that did not actually even happen until around 2017, 2018. I was like really kind of in a depression, and really just feeling alone. And don't get me wrong, I've always had wonderful people coming in and out of my life, but there was a barrier that I had, because I did not allow myself to fully open up to people. So it kept people at arm's length with me because I was not open and I was not forthcoming and I was not showing up as my full self. So I was not even really able to attract the caliber of people that would really align with who I was because I was not showing up as who I was. There were just these pieces of me. So I really just, being called too much or being told you're too much. And let me just tell you, I'm still being told I'm too much. I mean, I'll talk about that more in depth another day. But I will say this. Sometimes when we are shrinking, it is not a conscious thing that we're doing. It is really something that our nervous systems have come to do to protect us. But if you are tired of shrinking, if you are tired of not showing up as your full self, it's time for you to query where that came from. And if you're not able to pinpoint it consciously, that is something that you need to start the process of doing. And you can do it on your own, depending on what your own inner work looks like in your inner relationship with yourself. But a therapist is a wonderful thing. I will always talk about also EMDR therapy, which is what I'm doing currently. That really helps me to go into it helped me especially to go into a lot of things that I did not consciously remember. So I do understand that a lot of my shrinking and hiding was my nervous system at trying to keep me safe. But there comes a point in our lives that those old programs are not actually keeping us safe because we don't have those conditions anymore. Those old programs are actually keeping us in a box. They're limiting us. And so that's what I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, I am such a big spirit. I am such a massive spirit. And there is so many great things that I know that I'm here in this earth to do. And here I am over here in this little box. And yes, I feel that I've always been in my purpose, where I am in my career, whatever I do, I'm in my purpose because who I am is my currency and my purpose. And especially over the last few years of healing work, I truly bring who I am fully everywhere that I go. So I know that I'm in that purpose, but I know that there's a greater capacity for my purpose to serve in this world. But when I was really hiding all those parts of myself, questioning all those things and doing all those things to be safe, I was really limiting myself. And so I was just tired of limiting myself. I was really tired. I think one of the things that we don't talk about a lot sometimes is jealousy. Like, or if you feel jealousy, if you see someone doing something and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do that, or I could do that, or why isn't that happening for me? I started having these moments, and I am a very self-reflective person. So I started asking myself, like, girl, self, why are you, because I'm happy for you, this person, but why are you feeling that way? And what I recognized was the reason that jealousy or discontentment in that way a lot of times comes to meet us is because it's trying to knock on our door and wake us up to say, you're not living to your potential. You're not expressing to the capacity that you could express. You are limiting yourself. And yes, you see how that person shines. You are meant to shine in your own way as well. And you're not. So you see that shining, your light wants to bust out, and you're holding it captive from the world. You're holding it captive from the people that are aligned with you. Everybody is not for everybody. Everything is not for everyone. But there are people who resonate with certain people. There are people who are on a frequency and it connects with other people. And if that is my frequency, if there's people waiting for that to activate and I'm over here hiding it to stay safe. So that was what really, I was just like, okay, girl, you got to get it together, girl. You got to get to the bottom of this. And so that was, I had been in therapy like weekly from like I was in therapy from like 2014 weekly. I had done it before, but I was weekly then. And then when my sister and my mother passed, I continued weekly. But I was like, I feel like I need something different than cognitive behavioral. I need something different. So I had read the book, What My Bones Know. And she talked about EMDR therapy in there. And I was like, I need to find an EMDR therapist because I need to get to the root of this foolishness. And so as I got to the root of it, just even the story that I told you about, being called a hot shot, really going deep into what happened to my trust of people, my trust of women after being jumped at 17 years old. What happened with my trust in women after being my house being bum rushed by somebody at 19 years old who I thought was my friend. What happened and all of these things. There are other stories that I'll tell you at another time, but all of these different things that happened, what happened is it kept reinforcing in me that I wasn't safe. It kept reinforcing in me that I could not be seen. It kept reinforcing to me to keep the peace. And so I just continued doing that. Y'all, I continue doing that to the point that in a marriage, we'll talk about that another day. That's a doozy. But keeping the peace and not wanting to disrupt the energy and the status quo and, not wanting to possibly also cause violence. So being able to go back into those memories and really sit in those emotions helped me to really see that there was this thing of where I always just felt like I was enough, that I was too much. Who I was in every situation was too much. And so I never fully showed up. But I show up now, y'all. I show up now unapologetically. And it may still be too much for some people. And I do not apologize for that. Keep it moving, keep it going. You're not my people, and that's okay. There are people for you. I do recognize that there is somebody for everybody, and everyone is not going to resonate. And I think that what I really want to share is when we're able to look back at a lot of the things that happened that shaped our life, sometimes unconsciously, those things are what are holding us back from reaching our full potential. And yes, we are very capable of unearthing those things on our own, but sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need someone to be able to not be emotionally involved in what happened, to be able to guide us through these things. Sometimes we need someone who has studied for years with these things. Sometimes it's not that deep, and you can sit within yourself, you can meditate, you can journal, you can even read some books. Again, What My Bones Know is a really good book. Another good book that I recommend is Your Resonant Self, and I cannot remember the lady's name who wrote the book, but I will put it in the description once this is posted so that you can get that book as well. That book was a heavy journey for me. It is where I started it before I was in EMDR therapy. And it is definitely a journey. But if you are in a situation where you can't afford therapy or where you cannot find a great therapist for yourself, that book and the workbook and actually doing, I highly recommend doing all of the activities and then giving yourself space between the activities. It really facilitated me connecting with my younger self and really being able to see also certain things that I literally had blocked out because they were just painful. And at the time that they were happening to me, they were so painful that I had to block it out because of the fact that if I was to move forward and to move forward with any vigor and any joie de vivre, anything, I could not have that in my mind. And so I was able to access those memories and to sit with them and to feel them and to actually process them as the mature, grown ass, self-sufficient, strong, nurturing, caring, soft, divinely led and protected woman that I am. So I think one of the greatest lessons out of this and how I have integrated into my life is that one of the most important things to me is safety. And safety for me, number one, is honoring myself, honoring my inner voice. When my inner voice is screaming and telling me something ain't right, somebody ain't right, I trust it. I listen to it. Even when there is no proof, no tangible proof, I don't need the proof. When I was younger, I used to be like, oh, well, I would let my mind come in and be like, oh, well, they haven't done anything. Oh, you haven't seen anything. Oh, there's nothing. You're just tripping, girl. Wait and see. And that is how I got hurt in many situations. I do not wait and see. If my body is uncomfortable, if it is not a full body yes, it is a no. If I do not feel safe, I am not going. If I don't feel safe, I am exiting. If my body is not at peace around you, I excuse myself. Now, in certain situations, professionally and publicly, sometimes we're not able to excuse ourselves as easily as we would want to. But I know how to maneuver those situations and not get in too deep. So the biggest lesson that I learned is that to be safe is to honor me. And as long as I am honoring me and I'm listening to my inner voice and I am honoring who I am, first off, of course, getting back in touch with who I really was and all of those parts of me. There's this, the book called, and you know what? I am such an avid book lover. This is only half of one of my bookshelves. I have 3 more. yeah. But I am an avid book lover, so it's probably going to be many times that I'm talking to you that books come up, and I will make sure that I put them in the comments if I do not remember the author's name off the top of my head, because the other thing you're going to learn is that I am not good with names. Unless I work with you, talk to you, deal with you on a consistent basis for weeks at a time, the name is going to go. I remember faces, don't remember names. I also can remember the names of books. So I said all of that to say is The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. There was a passage in that book where she talks about us being castles, and that as we are little children, and people in the world start saying to us that this room in the castle is not acceptable, and this room isn't acceptable, and that isn't acceptable, we close those doors. And as we get older, we forget that we closed off those doors and those entire corridors of our castle. And somehow we have now ended up living in a 1-bedroom or sometimes a studio apartment because we have literally closed off so much of ourselves to be acceptable, to keep the peace, to be liked, to be surrounded around people that you can't even be your full self in, to be surrounded around people that have, and you are lost to yourself. You are completely lost to yourself because you have forgotten that you are a castle with a multitude of rooms and corridors and levels. And you have blocked yourself and restricted yourself to this one room. So I say that to say that I am still becoming. I am still opening those castle doors. I'm still discovering so many things about myself that for the better part of, I would say, 30 years of my life, I was covering up and I was hiding because I didn't think that they were lovable or acceptable. And it had caused me not to love those pieces of myself. The greatest gift of my life is being able to do this work. The greatest gift of my life is being able to meet myself here. The greatest gift of my life is being able to rediscover myself. I did not put tissue over here, and I should have, because I told y'all I was a crybaby. But it just hit me because the greatest gift of my life at this point is discovering how vast I am. Like discovering all of these rooms that are inside of me. You know, I sing, I write, I do all of these things, and I do them and I love them, and they don't feel like work, and I feel alive, and I feel joy, and I feel expansive, and I grow and I learn, and it is the best thing ever. And I'm not quite sure why my life had to go in the way that it did, but I know that some of the trials and tribulations that I suffered, and some of the meanness and ugliness that I suffered, and even some of the isolation that I've had, really gave me the drive to know myself, really gave me the drive to be self-reflective, to cultivate a spiritual practice, to be present, to spend time in nature, and to really take the time out to observe me. Safety starts with me and how I honor me. And then it extends to me recognizing that if someone isn't in alignment with me, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. I don't need to shrink or change or do anything. It's just not my people. It's just not my place. And you know what? The crazy part about it is it doesn't even, we're not always aligned with people. I have people that were my people 10 years ago that today cannot be my people because where I'm at is not in that place anymore. And the things that we had in common and the things that aligned us then, I'm no longer those things. And some of the people, they may not be the things that they were that aligned them with me. And so I think also one of the greatest lessons that I learned is that it is okay. It's okay not to align with people. It's okay that someone doesn't like me. It's okay that someone doesn't want to be my friend. It's okay that someone does not want to listen to my YouTube or my videos. It's okay because I'm not for them. It's okay if you like me today and you don't like me next week because there are so many different aspects of me and you're not going to like all of them, but I love them. I don't sometimes, I got questionable things about me, but I love me and I love the complications about me. I love who I am becoming. So I'm going to start wrapping this up by saying, I say that this is Wisdom Wednesday because I'm growing in wisdom. I haven't got it all figured out. I'm 47 years old and I've lived through some things and there are lots of lessons that I've learned, but there's lots of things that I have not experienced yet, or there's different points of view that I haven't set in. But I'm here to share mine. And I hope that as you hear some of my contemplations, some of my reflections, that if they don't resonate with you, that they spark something in you for you to have your own realizations about your life journey. I feel safe within myself, and I feel safe in knowing that whatever environments and people that I am around at this point in my life, that I can be fully present and be fully me, and that they can meet me as I am, where I am. Even if they don't really care for me, there will be no violence, because anyone who knows me and loves me knows I am not about that life. Now, I might talk a little reckless from time to time. I'm not going to lie to you. This tongue can go, and we'll get into that another time. However, that's just one little aspect of me that doesn't come out very often, but she's there. And I love that she can speak up and take up for herself and do those things, because there was a time that I didn't. And at that time, my sister was really like my cheerleader and she would fight for me. But she is no longer here to do that. And so that aspect of myself has risen and I'm able to do it. But who I am in my totality, in all of the multifacets of LaTasha Trimise, can be met 100% with the people that I have chosen to be in my life, with the environments that I frequent in my life. And I am grateful that my life has shown me that I am enough. I am not too much. And that who I am will resonate with my people. So if you are still here, if you are coming back, thank you for being my people. I'm excited about the possibilities of forming my community here in YouTube world. I look forward to you growing with me. There's so many things. As I said, I'm so multifaceted that I'm working on. I am a writer. I am a speaker. I sing. I am working on a fiction series right now, science fiction, that is going to be so amazing that you all are going to love. And this is just a beautiful journey that I want to bring you along to witness and hopefully get inspiration, get little clicks in your brain, little clicks in your spirit, feel seen, feel reflected, feel connected. I thank you for being with me. If you have any questions for me, if you have any insights, feel free to drop them in the comments. Also, feel free to email me at any point. I will put my email address and my website also in the description of today's video. I really look forward to hearing from you. If there's any questions that you have for me or any story or facet of life that you really want me to cover or talk about, I would be glad to do that. I really am organically moving through this process. Transparently, for me, it was about getting started. Last year, I had all this footage and it wasn't me. It was very curated. And it wasn't what my spirit wanted to bring forth. So I am following my spirit here, and it's not scripted. You'll notice that there's pauses. There's sometimes I'm stumbling over myself because I just want to talk to you for real. This is not content in the way of content. This is connection. This is connection, and this is me standing in my gift of sharing my stories, my wisdom, and my light with you. I thank you for sharing your time, your energy, your presence with me. Thank you for your views. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. I'm excited to bring you Storytime Sunday. What I'm going to talk about in this next episode, it's kind of stirring in my spirit. Maybe a little heavy for some people, but there's a lot of things happening this week, and I have some things stirring in my spirit. So I think that I am going to tackle that on Sunday. I hope to see you there, and I hope you have a great remainder of this week. And I will see you on Sunday. Thank you for being with me. Bye.